Earlier this morning, Donald Trump said that a ground invasion of Kharg Island in Iran was imminent. Now Donald Trump singing a very different tune. He's saying that a deal is imminent, and as a result of the deal, he is not going to be doing the ground invasion of Kharg Island. As a result, the oil futures markets, which have now been manipulated, are plummeting. We're seeing the U.S. stock market rise on this yet again, market manipulation by Donald Trump. Again, the humiliation ritual by the United States continues at the hands of Donald Trump. Here's what he posted moments ago. Based on the fact that the discussion with the Islamic Republic of Iran had been brought to the highest level of Iranian leadership and approved, I have, as President of the United States of America, canceled the scheduled strikes and bombings against Iran this evening. Discussions and final points have been in both concept and great detail approved by all parties involved, including the United States, Israel, Saudi Arabia, UAE, Qatar, Turkey, Pakistan, Bahrain, Kuwait, Jordan, Egypt, and others. The naval blockade will remain in full force and effect until this transaction is finalized. Time and place of the signing to be announced shortly. Again, this follows Donald Trump's post 2 hours earlier, where he said the United States is going to hit Iran very hard tonight, that we are going to take over Kharg Island just like Venezuela, and that a ground invasion was imminent. Donald Trump rushed now to Barack Ravid, his personal stenographer and propagandist at Axios, where he talks about the negotiations taking place behind the scenes, because if you're going to do this market manipulation, again, you got to have a kind of narrative that Barack Ravid pushes out there. Barack Ravid goes behind the scenes. Negotiations continued late into Wednesday night in Tehran as Qatari envoy Ali Al-Thawadi and Iranian Foreign Minister Araghchi worked to bridge the remaining gaps between the United States and Iran. According to 3 sources briefed on the talks, the Qataris and the Iranians believed on Wednesday that they had reached an agreed upon text that the U.S. would also accept. So that was yesterday when the U.S. was bombing Iran and when Iran hit 5 U.S. bases. Okay, makes a lot of sense there, Barack Ravid. Ravid goes on to say, according to the sources, Iranian officials told several countries on Thursday that the Tehran talks produced an agreement in principle, but Supreme Leader Mojtaba Khomeini still needed to give final approval. The sources noted that both the Iranians and the Qataris had emphasized that the U.S. strikes overnight increased suspicion. He goes on to say, the sources says the gaps were narrowed on 3 key issues: the mechanism for releasing Iran's frozen assets, the most important issue for the Iranians, arrangements for reopening the Strait of Hormuz during the 60-day ceasefire period, how negotiations over Iran's nuclear program will be conducted during the 60-day ceasefire period. So even if you accept this narrative as true, the Trump regime is not entering into any actual agreement on removing nuclear material from Iran. It's just an agreement to create a framework to have future negotiations regarding Iran's nuclear program, and the U.S. would be unfreezing assets of Iran to the tune of billions and billions of dollars. On this news, U.S. oil prices collapsed below $87 a barrel. The stock market soared, but then a senior Israeli official told Channel 12 in Israel, "We don't know what he's talking about. There is no agreement. When he mentions us, we don't know. We've never heard of this. We don't know about any approval at the highest level of Iranian leadership." Then an Iranian source close to negotiations told Fars, Iran's media agency, Iran has not approved any text for an initial memorandum of understanding with the United States. We don't know what he's talking about. The denial comes after Donald Trump claimed Iran had agreed at the highest level to such a text, and later said the document had been finalized and that a signing of the deal to be announced soon, and that a deal was imminent. Before Donald Trump made that announcement, in a news statement, Iran's military command threatened massive escalation if the United States dared strike again tonight, saying the fire of war will become more widespread. On Trump's Kharg Island threats, either oil and gas exports are for everyone, or it will be impossible for no one. And then following that statement, Donald Trump said, all right, we're backing off our invasion of Kharg Island, like I said. And when I told state regime media Fox we're going to blow the shit out of them and bomb them to the Stone Age or whatever, that's off. The Ayatollah is about to approve it. The Qatari says the deal is about to happen. And then Iran's like, we don't know what you're talking about. Israel's like, we don't know what you're talking about. Iran's top aide to the Ayatollah, Moshe Razi, writes, the unhinged U.S. president imagines that bombs can get him out of the quagmire he himself created, but Iranian missiles will sink him even deeper into it. Washington must choose between accepting Iran's terms and losing its last shred of credibility in the world. Iranian parliament leader MB Ghalibaf writes, wrong strategies and impulsive decisions will reset the entire board for the worse, explode energy infrastructure and markets, and create an endless quagmire that you will be stuck in for years. You will see a different Iran. We did see, though, we were aware that Iranian Foreign Minister Araghchi was speaking to his counterpart, European Union Foreign Policy Chief Kaja Kallas. She's like the number 2 position in leadership in the European Union. We also did learn that Iran was speaking with the foreign minister of the United Arab Emirates, which was notable because they haven't spoken or met in some time. And UAE was looking for an out because Dubai, Abu Dhabi is getting absolutely destroyed by Trump's catastrophic and unlawful war. And the UAE depended on the U.S. security umbrella, which has completely collapsed. We were aware, and that's why I reported this morning, that the Qataris were working to help kind of create a agreement of surrender. Remember the video I made this morning? An agreement of surrender whereby Donald Trump would basically give in to the Iranian terms, but Qatar was working on a face-saving measure for Trump. And I think maybe part of that face-saving measure is Trump goes, I was going to blow the shit out of them. We were so close to demolishing them. And now we've got this great deal. And I'm just letting you know, if you just accept the Trump market manipulation version of this deal, there isn't a deal. It is a 60-day ceasefire where there may be future negotiations in the future when there was supposed to be a ceasefire already, which we know is a fake ceasefire where the U.S. will unfreeze Iranian funds. So basically, what we always said it was going to be when Donald Trump reposted Foreign Minister Araghchi back in April and said that he agreed to these terms, but he just had to cause massive kind of catastrophic injury to our country. We also know from our reporting and others that top oil executives have now been basically saying to the Trump regime, you don't get it. We are days away from hitting tank bottom. This isn't us trying to be nice to you anymore. Figure this situation out immediately because you're about to cause an economic depression of scales that you don't even realize. And so lots of top oil executives are out there saying that. I mean, meanwhile, you have U.S. CENTCOM behaving in such a clownish manner. It reminds me like Baghdad Bob that our CENTCOM has become like this. CENTCOM announcing the Strait of Hormuz is open, despite Iranian claims to the contrary, stating that hundreds of ships are transiting through the Strait of Hormuz. Feel free to go through the Strait of Hormuz. So is it any surprise to you right now that only 11% of Europeans view the U.S. as an ally right now? A new YouGov poll over there, only 11% of Europeans across 15 countries view the United States as an ally, a historic low. And this is a survey published by the European Council on Foreign Relations on Wednesday. Only 11% of Europeans view the U.S. as an ally. Let me show you what's going on in Capitol Hill right now as we speak, though. You have MAGA Republican Congress member Troy Nehls saying the following. Let's play this clip.
You know, I know we got this weaponization fund, but I think maybe we need to establish a fund for those that have Trump derangement syndrome and get counseling. Maybe we ought to provide some counseling for all the nut jobs out there that think Donald Trump is the worst thing. Donald Trump is the best thing to happen in this country in 100 years. He was born a very special baby. I bet you the doctor said, I can tell this is a very special baby. Right?
How utterly cartoonish is that? You have Democratic Congress member Beyer responding to MAGA Nehls and talking about this UFC fight. Here's what he said moments ago.
What do you think your constituents make of this UFC spectacle? They're going to probably hear some of it, see some of it from Virginia.
Yeah, what's next? Is it going to be cockfighting or dogfighting, or is just such a sacrilege to the White House and to our nation's capital. And Scott, the money they're going to spend on it, maybe $60 million more of taxpayer money on this kind of spectacle, it's ridiculous.
We also spoke with Congressmember Frost at the Capitol building. Here's what he told us about the UFC fight. Let's play it.
Vanity project at the UFC.
Oh yeah, it's a vanity project. It's using our taxpayer dollars and resources to prop up Trump. It's all about Trump. And he's building this entire arena at the White House at a time where people can't afford to live. No one has any damn money. And it's just showcasing himself.
Now, obviously, one of the things that we talked about Donald Trump panicking over is the PPI, the producer price index, the wholesale price index, up 1.1% month over month and now hit a total of 6.5% year over year. As I mentioned, PPI wholesale price, that gets passed on the consumer. PPI heading to 10% year over year, with CPI heading to 5.5%, 6% year over year. And I said, if this keeps going this way, we're going to have 10% CPI, 15, 20% PPI. The U.S. going to look a lot like Argentina soon. But that's Donald Trump's bud, Javier Milei. I do want to show you two things quickly. One, Tucker Carlson saying the following. I can't believe I'm showing you a clip like this, but here's what he had to say about Trump's ability to negotiate. Play this clip.
But that would be to minimize the profound nature of this moment. What we're really learning is not simply that Trump is a spotty commander-in-chief and certainly no diplomat and obviously not a deal maker. If you announce a deal 38 times and it doesn't materialize, you're not a deal maker. What we're beginning to understand, unfortunately for the rest of us, are not just the limits of Trump, but the limits of American power.
And then you have Democratic Congressmember Himes. Here's what he had to say.
I guess he's implying millions of their barrels that they are selling at obviously hugely inflated prices to finance the Iranian regime. What do you know about what he's saying there, about that Iran didn't until right now know we're taking millions of their barrels of oil and this 100 million barrels that Trump says he's actually helped get through the strait?
Yeah, well, look, a lot of that is just flat out untrue, right? And remember the record here, right? This war was going to be over in a couple of days. For the last 3 months, the Iranians have been 2 or 3 days or maybe a week or 2 weeks away from striking a deal. So let's just agree that the president has precisely zero credibility on anything that he says about the Iran war. But look, you don't need to be an intelligence expert to understand that in the Strait of Hormuz, you're not moving anything in secret. With a good pair of binoculars on either coast, you can see what's happening, set aside the satellite imagery that people have access to.
Well, when you have them two agreeing, that's something, eh? Anyway, hit subscribe. Let's get to 7 million subscribers. Thank you all for watching, and we appreciate you. Make sure you're subscribed, and thanks for watching.
Want to stay plugged in? Become a subscriber to our Substack at MeidasPlus.com. You'll get daily recaps from Ron Filipkowski, ad-free episodes of our podcast, and more exclusive content only available at MeidasPlus.com.